So we'll be talking about the fundamentals of UI UX today. As you can see, there are base beginners are always facing issue in this area of the UI UX field, like what to do in what is actually UI UX and what are the job options in that and how to pursue your career in UI UX. So yeah, we'll get started with the what's first. Like what is UI UX? UI UX is basically a design process of designing the visual interfaces of digital products, most commonly website platforms and app screens to facilitate user interaction. Actually, whatever you see on the websites, it is actually the design interface. It's the user interface. The elements of every screen you see are UI interfaces, like the button, the elements that it's there, the buttons, the text, the audios, the videos, which which is already going on in the website. It's all part of the UI process. The sole purpose of UI is to make a better and aesthetic, beautiful experience for users while navigating through your app, website, or platform. Meaning, it should be the experience should be beautiful. It shouldn't be cluttered or it shouldn't be like what do you say? It should be clean, simple, and easy to use. That's the main function of UI. That is user interface. And you can see the base concepts of user interface design is the visual elements of product are designed. As I said, the buttons, the text, the colors used. These are all part of the UI interface. And it also has element placement and size. So where should the button be? What should be the size of the button? The color, everything that follows. Also UI standards is all it should follow UI standards. UI standards in the sense like take a real life example for a traffic light. There are three colors, right? Red, green, and yellow. So red is for stop, like red stop, and yellow is for go ready on, and green is for go success. So these three colors are basically following the standards in the everyday life. We know that red means a danger or an error, and for green it is success, or yes, it's like a go, it's going the right direction or not, and yellow is for warning messages. So UI designers should follow this standards. They shouldn't make their own standards. Like sometimes the UI designers do, like for error messages, instead of using the color red, they'll use something like pink. No, but it may look good, but it doesn't actually work like that. You have to follow the standards which is already going on in this industry. And also you should use colors and textures strategically. Like for example, you take blue color in fintech companies, like you for example take Paytm. The blue color symbolizes trust, so we should use colors according to our product. Like for example, you see Netflix is a based on red and black color. Red is a eye catching color, so it goes better with entertainment platforms. It shouldn't be like red and black shouldn't be used in fintech companies or Paytm. What think of Paytm in red and black color? It won't look good. And also you should use typography to create hierarchy and clarity. What is typography? Typography is nothing but the fonts that you use and how the weight, the font, the selection of the fonts is basically typography. You shouldn't use fonts that are cluttered or which you scale down and they are not legible at that. So you should use simple fonts, and only one font or maximum of two fonts should be used in a product, not more than that. And aesthetic and minimalistic design. The design should be minimalist. It should be focused on what the purpose of the product is. Nothing, there shouldn't be anything diverting the mind of the user from the product. And it should be beautiful and like aesthetic. The design should be aesthetic. And now we'll come to user experience design. What is user experience design? Design, it is a design process of designing products and experiences that are efficient, effective, and even delightful for users. Like example, you saw in the earlier slide, this is a ketchup bottle, right? It is beautifully designed. It is the red colors and the white colors are already contrasting each other. It's beautifully designed, everything, the stickers on it. It looks nice. But what is user experience design? The when you design a product, it should be it should be easy to use, and it should have a good experience in using that product, not only in looking, not only in the looks. It should be useful for the users. So the main purpose of user experience design is to make a better experience for users by understanding their behavior. You should know what the users are expecting from you, and how they interact with the product or the software. For example, look at this ketchup bottle right now. The earlier one was looking great, but this is basically more useful in a way. So that's the main purpose of UX. It makes your UI more efficient. So yeah, we'll go with the points now. It includes a person's perceptions of utility, ease of use, and efficiency. As I said, ease of use and efficiency should be the main target of user experience. Use simple language. Always use simple languages in UX. Many times there are websites, when you log in or you put a password, they throw in error messages like in code formats, like errors 404 or something like that. So don't use those languages. Use simple language that everybody should understand. Keep it consistent. Consistent as in, for example, you will see in a phone application, there are the hamburger icon or the menu icon is on the top right corner, not on the top left corner. Earlier, it used to be on the top left corner. But now with the user experience process flowing, the top right corner is preferred, because most of the users are right-handed, and it is easier to access the right top corner than the left top corner. That's why the menu icons, the menu buttons are on the top right, not on the top left. So yeah, it should be consistent. Like you have already used, it should follow the consistency of applications. Like the hamburger icon means the menu icons, the menu buttons will be there. And the colors, as I said, the green is for errors, yellow for warnings, greens for success. That you should keep consistent from all the product that you're using, so it is easier for the users to understand the product. And have a clear hierarchy. Like, for example, the data organization should be clear. Like, where should you navigate for anything. For example, take Mintra, for example. You will go to the men's section, and then if you want to buy a shoes, for example, sport shoes, then you will go to the men's section first, then to the footwear, and then to the shoes, then collections, and then collections you'll get casuals, flip flops, sports shoes. And that is why this is the flow of the hierarchy, the flow of the data, that how you will navigate through the objects in your product. So it should be clear. It shouldn't be confusing, like you go to the women's section, and then there are shoes first, and then there inside the shoes there are jeans. No, it doesn't work like that. Should have a clear hierarchy. And less is more. Less is more, as in you shouldn't be, as I said in the earlier in the UI part also, less is more, because the user should not get diverted from the product. It should be focused on what the page or the application is supposed to do, nothing apart from that. And understand accessibility. Accessibility is basically you have to design a product in such a way that everybody can use your product. For example, let's say we'll use contrasting colors. As here you can see, the contrasting colors are green on white. So even if a person suffering from color blindness or something like that, he cannot see the colors actually, but still he can read out what is written on the screen. So it's, you should think like that. For everybody, it should be accessible, not only for fit and for perfect people. And yes, UI and UX go hand in hand. They are two very different things. People have the perception that UI UX is the same thing. No, it is not. UI is basically designing the elements of of the app or the website, but UX is basically the science behind how should we design the product that the user likes it and it is easy to use. So they are both very different things. As I said, UI focuses on the visual elements of the product. UX is focused on efficient and effective use of the product. And you cannot have one without the other. It's just like that. Yeah, so this is the differences between the user interface and user experience. User interface basically covers typography, as I told, the font selection, color theory, the color, what should be the color in your product, design patterns, like what should be the layout of the pattern be, where should be the menu, and where should be the logout button, the user like profile buttons, the at the bottom there should be the footer, on the top it should be the nav bar, design pattern. So it follows like that UI. And interactivity and animation. Interactivity means how the elements of the product interacts with each other and how they animate to each other. For example, when you open a cap of a bottle, it doesn't just goes from a closed state to open state. There is a flow of animation, like you twist it, you can see that it is getting opened. So that is, it should be fluid, the animation. So human brains just likes animations, the 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 f- the way the things flow in a good way, and you can see the state change from open to close. That's what. And in UX you can see product strategy. Product strategy is nothing but what the product, why is the product built, and why, for who is the product built, why will the people use it. It all answers those questions, the UX. User research, like you have to research your users. Like, for example, take an example for a Uber. Why was Uber actually launched or made? Because people knew that it would make them make their lives easier. So people, the UX people did a research on those people, that yes, if there is an app like that, from where you can, like, on the tip of a button, on the click of a button, you can just call a cab or book a ride, and it will be there for you. You don't have to stand in queues on roads to get a cab. So that's what it makes your life easier. You have to research the users, the what they want. And information architecture, the information architecture is nothing but what, how the data is organized in your applications. Like I said, that a Mintra example, it should be organized in a navigational form. And also testing and iteration. User experience is not like in the first time you'll get the user experience correct. It is a long process of testing and iterating again and again and again, and then you'll get to the final product, which is very good. So yeah, as you can see, the UI is looking great, but the UX is what makes the interface useful. That's the main difference of user and UI and UX. Okay, let's start with the design process, which has 5 planes actually. So going from the top to the from top to bottom, it's like concrete to abstract. Like the b- the lower levels are abstract and the top levels are concrete. Like concrete is as it comes to real life when I when you go up the planes. So yeah, the first one will start from the bottom. First one is strategies. Strategy is nothing but what, as I said, the UX, what is the main reason for the product or the application to be made, and who are we doing this for, why people are willing to use it, why they need it. These all questions need to be answered in the strategy stage of the product in UX, not UI. It is of the UX process. For example, I'll give you an example of a quick ride app. I think many of you have heard, or if you haven't heard, I'll just share what is a quick ride app. The Quick Ride app is actually an app for office transportation for office employees. It is only for office employees and not for anyone else. So it is just like have you heard Rapido? I guess everybody have heard Rapido. So it's like a car bike pool or a car pool when you are, but in that there are individual drivers which are already operating in the vehicles. But in this quick ride app, the office employees themselves are the drivers, and they can give other office employees lift if they're going on the same route. I guess it's clear till now. If you have any doubts, you can just take take the slide number and just note down, and then at the end of the session we'll just discuss everything if you have any doubts. Yeah. And so also it is a the quick ride app is operational as of now in highly populated cities like Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi, NCR, Kolkata, Pune. And also it is a very flexible app. You can, like, if you are going to the office For example, take example from A to B. There is your home is A and the office is at B. You are going to the A or B. You just put a ad that I'll be going at this time to my office from here to here. So if anybody is interested, they can join me. So they'll join you and you also get paid for that. So it is a very good app. And it is just for office employees. So there is no like trust issues. Yeah, it is always a risk factor, but yeah, it is more safe. The second plane is the scope. What is the scope here? It is the functional content requirements. Like what should be the functions, what should be the functions of the application? Like what can we add in that? For example, functional requirements are the functions about the functions or features of the product. And content requirements is nothing but what should be the content in that. Like content, as I told you, text, images, audios, videos. These are content requirements, and the functions will be functional requirements. As in the next example, I'll show you what functional requirements are. For the same example we'll be taking right now is quick ride app. So features like setting a home or work for frequently used location is added to that application. So it makes them easier to, you don't have to search the map again and again for the same location which you are already traveling daily. So you can set a home or a work location easily. So it makes the life easier and also time consuming. It saves your time actually. And also f- there are features like offers and referrals are added to the app. So added, it's like an added benefit for the users that are already using. And if you refer someone, you'll get some extra credits or points like that. So it is the scope plane of the app. Like the functions are decided here on the app. The third stage is structure. It defines this interacts with how the user interacts with the product, like how the system behaves when the user interacts. And it has interaction design and information architecture. Interaction design, as I told you, the animations, how will the system animate when you click on a button, like what will be the animation be, or you navigate to the next page, how will it navigate to the next page, the process of navigating to the next element, or the process of navigating or interaction of the internal elements of the website is like interaction design. And information architecture is nothing but the organization of data, as I said in the Mintra example, if you remember. That's what information architecture is. For example, let's say example, the same example we'll be taking, so it will be easier for you to understand. Here, the navigational objects, yeah, the objects like book a ride or type of ride, you just have to just add those add those buttons or anything like that, so people can like objects like how to navigate to the app to book a ride and the type of data. Here you make a structure of how the app will work, how the user should go from not knowing anything to just to directly booking a ride and then taking a ride. So the flow should be easy, the flow should be understood, and it should not be like nobody reads a manual these days. So manual, it should be easy to use. Like people have already used Ola, Ubers most of the time, so they know how these apps work. So you have to be consistent with those apps and make your app in that way that it is easier for them to understand. Also, the structure of the data information or information in the app is yeah, the structure, as I said, information architecture is the same thing, like how the structure will be, the data will be divided or organized in your application. For example, you click on the profile menu, then you go to your profile and you can change multiple things like your office location, home. You can change those things. So this is in a defined way. So the first part is going to the profile and then going to the home, then changing your home location. So it is the structure of the data that is in the app. The fourth one is the skeleton. Here, the skeleton is basically a rough sketch of the application or website which you are going to make. So the what is skeleton? Skeleton determines the visual form on the screen presentation, and arrangement of all elements, like where the buttons will be. Like just like a basically rough sketch. Like the button should be on the left, the menu should be on the right. That's what. And navigating through the information and how information is presented to make it effective, clear, and obvious. And also the navigation should be defined in this stage, like from this page, if we click on this button, then it will navigate to which page next, and so on. And also there is a word, there's a keyword here like wireframes. Wireframes are nothing but a static diagrams which displays the functional elements of a product, typically used for planning a site structure. As I said, it is a rough sketch of the product, a wireframe. And you don't need any designing tools to make wireframes. You can make it on paper, and paper, anything like paper. For example, take a paper, or there are websites also like wireframe.cc is there to make wireframes easily. So it is low fidelity. It doesn't have much functionality. It just shows how the structure of the skeleton of the product is. For example, I'll just take the quick ride app again. So the wireframe is a low fidelity prototype of the app. As I said, it is a very low fidelity as it has no functionality. It just shows what the page looks like or the app looks like. In example, the map is added to show the nearest vehicle and a button to confirm ride. As I said, in the quick ride app, you need in not only in quick ride app, in Ola and Ubers also, you have to take the map. You have to have a map to know the vehicles and your location to confirm and book a ride, right? Also, navigational objects are connected to each other to check how will they. Yeah, and also, as I said, if you click a button on the app, which if you click book ride, what should it process to the next page, or it should give a feedback on the same page that yes, it's finding a ride, or it's and a success message that yes, your ride has been found. It is coming in 5 minutes or 10 minutes, like that. So it should have a rough idea in this phase how the app will work, everything like that. And the last part is the surface part. It is the sum of total of all the works and decision we have made is used in the surface phase. Here the UI designers come into picture and they dive into the visual treatment to create the final look and feel of the product. Like UI design, now it's everything is decided, like how the app will work, who is it for, what is the main purpose of the app, and elements, where will the elements be, what are the elements actually used in that. Now the UI designers will make based on the product how will it look by using the right layout, using the right fonts or typography, you can say, or color palettes, and transition and navigational animations, whatever it takes, the UI designers will make the product. It doesn't make the product, they just make the final look and feel of the product. How will it look after development? Yeah. In QCRID example, UI designers create the final look and feel of the product. So yeah, this phase includes pixel perfect design, good color contrast, typography, and layout. Pixel perfect design is a must for every UI designer. You should be perfect in every spacing you give, why you should have every answer for your interface. Like if you gave a, a button a color, and for example you gave a button a background color of green, and on that you wrote with white, no, you wrote with black, so it doesn't give a contrasting colors. You should have good contrast, you should have reasons why you're doing this. And also typography, why you used a font, why not use this font. You should have clear conscience about using those things. And also layouts, you should follow standard layouts for all of your processes and designs. And also it contains a high fidelity prototype and navigational animations, feedback, etc. So high fidelity prototype is nothing but the final look and feel of the product. Like it will look exactly how the the end product will look like, and also it will work exactly as it is expected to after development. So yes, after that the developers come in and they develop the product. So this is the whole process of UX to UI to developers. This is how it is made. And then we'll go about UI design core principles. There are three leaders in market which are already booming. That is Apple, Google, and Microsoft. They are considered the best for this for their UI designs. Yes, Vishwa, I guess you have a doubt, so we'll discuss it at the end of the session. You just note down your doubt. So Apple uses clean and straightforward UI design approach for its products. You have seen Apple products; they are very simple, clean, clutter-free. It's not very complex to use. And also Google uses material UI design. Material UI is a flat. It's like a flat, flat colored base, not so much of textures or something like that. It's like a simple color base, solid color base on which the elements are arranged. Also, Microsoft also has its Fluent design system. Fluent, you can also see Microsoft, most of you are already using Windows. So yeah, it is easier to use. They have already, the standard is already going on for a long time. We know how things work in Windows. So yeah, that is it. The common ground of all these design systems is simplicity, clean UI, and clutter-free design. Simplicity is the base of every design what of these three companies. And clean UI should be clean, should not get your eye should not get diverted to any other things. It should be focused on what the purpose of the product is, and it should be clutter-free. Should not be elements overlapping each other. It should be clean and convenient to use. Yeah. So now we'll go into UI design guidelines, do's and don'ts. Yeah. The first one is contrast. As I said, you should have a contrast between your UI design. Make sure there is ample contrast between the font color and the background so the text is legible. As you can see in the first image, it's a white background using a black text. So it is contrasting. Even people with disabilities like color blindness can easily recognize and read those read everything that is written here. But on the right side, as you can see, it's a light color that is white on a light color that is yellow and green. So it doesn't create a contrast. It is very tough to read. You have to just zoom in like that, and then you have to read what is written. So it doesn't guarantee give a good user experience. It is very bad practice. So always have a contrast in between your elements and the background. Also the text size. The text size should be at least 11 points. So it's legible at a typical viewing distance without zooming. It should be at least 11 points, 11 pixels. It can be more, but it should not be less than 11 points. Yeah, I have already used those points. Actually, I've used them when I was not uh, actually when I started in designing. Even I didn't know these points. So yeah, I've made terrible mistakes at that point. And yeah, slowly learned what the standards are by talking to people, reading posts, and following everybody on Dribble, Behance. So yeah, that's how you learn. As you can see on the left, it is easier to read. On the right, you have to zoom in everything to read. So that's not. Also in text size, I like to add one point, that is typography. Use fonts that are easily legible, not those that look good. Like for example, many times people use cursive fonts or handwritten fonts that looks good. Yeah, no doubt they don't look good. It looks good, but it is not legible sometimes. When you scale it down to 11 points, it makes them very cluttered and they get overlapped to each other and it is not legible. So use clear fonts. Sans serif fonts are the best. For example, DM Sans you can use Times New Roman, Helvetica New. These are some good fonts that you can use. Alignment. Align text, images, and buttons to show users how information is related. For example, on the left, you can see it is already left aligned, everything. But on the right image, it is right aligned. The human eye always reads from left to right. Most of the times, it is like that because we have a habit of reading left to right from centuries. You can see books written that way. The content today is written from left to right. Everything is from left to right. You can see that your keyboard, the buttons on the function buttons are F1 to F12 are from left to right, not from right to left. So yeah, it is a standard that we follow. So yeah, you should align text and images accordingly from left to right. Spacing creates a very big role, but it is most of the time it is overlooked. Don't let text overlap. Improve legibility by increasing the line height or letter spacing. As you can see on the left hand side, the line spacing has been increased and it is much more visible and legible than the right side, as they are not overlapping but they are very much closer to each other. Each line is like touching the other one. You have to very carefully read. You might just miss out the next line and just go to the other one rather than going in a flow. So yeah, you can increase line height. There is no issue in increasing line height in your fonts and letter spacing also. But you should have an extend of you should have a conscience of extension, like to till where should I extend, or where should I increase the line height that it looks good. After a certain point, it will look very bad if you increase the line height by excess. So yeah, always keep in mind spacing. And also with spacing, there is a term called white spaces. White spaces or blank spaces are areas, or breathing spaces are areas in between elements. You don't have to just cover up the entire screen with elements. You should have some breathing space in between those elements. It should be easier. Not if I put two buttons side by side, very small buttons side by side, I'll have and it is very much accidental that I'll just accidentally press each either one of them. So yeah, it should have breathing space. It should have ample space between the elements for proper user experience. Also hit targets. Yeah, actually I made terrible mistakes in my past designs. I didn't know that the hit targets were 44 points, 44 by 44 pixels. It should be minimum 44 by 44 pixels so that it doesn't get uh, it doesn't get too difficult to touch touch a button or that. Create control that measure at least 44 by 44. 44 by 44 pixels is Apple standard. Google follows 48 by 48 pixels. So yeah, it depends, but it is somewhat closer to 44 to 48 pixels. And also you'll have questions like why I'm just showing those mobile designs everywhere. I'll come to that in the last point. Why there are only mobile designs and not uh, website designs in this examples. So yeah, in the left hand side, as you can see, there's an ample space for the like button or whatever you can say in the favorites button to touch. But on the right hand side, the share button and the favorites button are very close to each other. If you want to save something, you might accidentally share it, or if you want to share it, it's vice versa. So yeah, have enough space for the touch targets. And now the formatting content. Create a layout that fits the screen of a device. Users should see primary content without zooming or scrolling horizontally. As you can see on the left hand image, it is just a vertical scroll and you can see everything that is on the page. You won't miss anything that is there on the product. But on the right side, it is also vertically scrolling and horizontally scrolling. So yeah, horizontal scroll, it may miss out some information that you are searching for on the page because it is already out of scope. You have to just, you have to horizontally scroll as well as vertically scroll to get the information. Nobody wants to do that kind of work. Like nobody wants to be that shouldn't be working on a product that hard to get information. No, it should be available right at your fingertips. Like in on the 5 or 10 seconds, it should be available if you are searching for anything. So yeah, it should be formatting content should be basically on phones. It should be on vertical, and also in websites it should be vertical scrolling, not horizontal. So yeah, you have to take care of responsiveness accordingly for the devices. Also distortion, always display images at their intended aspect ratio to avoid distortion. As you can see on the left hand image, the coffee cup is looking good. It is in the correct shape, but on the right side, it is distorted. It looks like an oval. Also, you can take an example for the Domino's app. If you want to order a pizza and you see a good looking pizza, what they are going to make. So it is perfectly round. But if it is a distorted image, it is like a oval shaped pizza. Nobody wants to have an oval shaped pizza. Actually, nobody wants that. So yeah, we want a perfectly shaped pizza. So yeah, the images should be in the in the intended aspect ratio, and not, you shouldn't change the aspect ratio of the images. The next point is touch controls. Use UI elements that are designed for touch gestures to make interactions with your app feel easy and natural. As you can see on the left hand side, it is much more easier to scroll the date and the time than on the right hand side, where it is very much small to touch a date. If you want to select 7 or 8th of September, there you'll have to like pixel perfectly touch on that, or else you might just accidentally touch select some other date. So yeah, it should be, touch controls should have a good and natural feel. And now the, the last point is mobile first design. Because as I said, there were only mobile examples in these points. It is because the mobile first design was up invented. The mobile first approach is designed for the smallest device, designing for the smallest devices first, and then add more functionality for bigger screen. Because if you just, for example, take a website, if you design a website, start designing a website, you have ample of space. Like you have like 1920 by 1080 resolution. You can put anything anywhere. The buttons can be very big or small. The menus can be hovering from left or right or top, bottom, anywhere. But if you scale it down to a phone, it is much more difficult to scale the same design to the phone which you have already made, because you have not thought of that process earlier. You have to overcome this process. We have to first design the product for the smallest screen, which is phone, I guess. In the era, phone is the smallest screen which we are using, or also smartwatches we are using. So yeah, we should continue start our approach by designing for the smartwatch first, then the mobile, then the tab, and then ultimately the website. So it is easier to scale up than scale down. So it is called a mobile first design, and it is widely used, and it is a very good practice to use in UI design. And also I said something about a wireframe versus mockup versus prototype. So yeah, wireframe is nothing but, as I said, it can be made on a piece of paper. It is low fidelity, it has functionalities and no functionality. It is very low skill required to make a wireframe. The resources are very minimal, and time needed is also minimal. You just have to make a rectangle where the buttons will be. That's a prototype, which makes up the final product will look like. So yeah, this is the basic three differences in it. Now we'll be moving on to, before moving on to UI UX design tools, let me just give you an example of UI UX in real life. So you can see UI UX is not only just basically based on applications or websites. It is also, you can see it in daily life as, for example, you can take for a push and a pull door. I think everybody has seen a push and a pull door in malls or showrooms. So the basic difference or the basic misconception or the basic error that we make while using a push or a pull door is we pull the pushing door and we push the pulling door. So why is it like that? I need somebody, everyone to think of the answer for this. I'll be asking the answer for this question at the end of the session. And also, if you can think of real life examples, like I already gave the ketchup bottle, the the stand up, the straight up ketchup bottle is looking good, but the upside down one is more useful and effective in a way. So yeah, uh, so you just have to look around you, think of examples for you, user experiences around you, or you, for example, I'll give you one more example, like why is the pizza box shaped square and not circle? Because it is easier to process and uh, like contain those boxes, because it is made from one single sheet of cardboard. And the circle boxes cannot be made from a single sheet of cardboard, and it is not very easier to store them for a long duration. It takes up much more space than the square boxes. So yeah, this is one example for how UX works in everyday life. So just think of examples in real life and just share with me while at the end of the session. Yeah, after that we'll be going, and also I'll give you some more examples, interesting ones at the end of the session. So yes, now we'll be talking about the UI UX design tools. The first one and the most famous one is Figma. Figma lets designers build dynamic prototypes, mockups, test them for usability, and sync up for all of the progress. Figma also allows a collaborative environment where multiple people can work on a project at the same time. It is like you add a project and we can add different people on the same project, and they can work simultaneously on the same project at the same time. So it is very useful. And also you can build dynamic prototypes, mockups, wireframe. You can also build wireframes on that, not only mockups and prototypes. And you can test them for usability. You can share it with some of the beta testers or users that you are targeting for the application, and they'll just give you a feedback of how the thing should work rather than how you have designed it. It is all, and the best part is it is browser based. It doesn't need any application to be installed on the system. You can just go to figma.com and use the product from there itself. You don't have to, and the most interesting part is it is free until now, because Adobe acquired it a few months back. So we don't know how the Figma will roll out in the future. So let's hope it's not gonna get paid. It stays free because it is easier to use a free designing tool. It is much more, you can learn in a free tool than in a paid one. And also it has a lot of functionalities. So I hope and hope that Adobe doesn't make this under their paid services. So yeah, the Figma is the first and the most famous design tool. After that comes the Adobe XD. Adobe XD was earlier, it was also free, but from the past 1 or 2 year, I guess they have made it paid versions. It has a 7-day free trial. It is similar to Figma. It has the same elements. It is, but also Adobe XD offers vector-based user interface tools for creating prototypes and mockups. If anybody of you have already used any of the Adobe products like Photoshop, Lightroom, Premiere Pro, After Effects, anything like that, it what do you see in common? The Adobe products are the tools and the interface that they use. It is basically same for every product. Like there is a crop, the rectangle tool is in the form of a rectangle. The eraser tool is the same icon for every variety of products in their suite. So yeah, and it also supports real time collaboration. As I said, multiple people can work at the same project at the same time. And also it is, as I said, it has a 7-day free trial as of now. Then you have to pay some amount for you to use the product. Also you can use cracked products, but I don't suggest doing so. But it is an also it is an application that needs to be installed on the system. It is not browser based, it is an application that needs to be installed. So yes, Adobe XD is on the number 2 on my list because it is very famous after Figma. The third one is Sketch. Sketch supports universal changes. Universal changes as in if there are if you have designed multiple screens, you can just select one of the screens. Like if you want to change the font of the elements in all of the screens, then you have to, in earlier applications, you have to manually do it in every screen. You have to select the button. If you want to change the color of the button, you have to change it in every screen manually. But in Sketch it supports universal changes. If you select this option of universal change, then you can just change it in the first screen and it will get synced up to the remaining screens automatically. You don't have to manually do it. And yeah, it also supports third party plugins that integrate without problem. Third party plugins as in you can integrate plugins like icons, for example. Also plugins are supported in Adobe XD also, Figma also, and Sketch also. So plugins play a very important role in every designing tool. And yeah, for example, you don't have to search for icons in external websites. You can easily just connect a plugin with with the application, and you will just get the amount the wide variety of icons in the app itself. Also it has a 30-day trial period. After that you have to pay to use the product. But the major downside of this product is it is only available for Mac OS at the moment, and I guess it will be for Mac OS only in the future, as well as it has been going on for a long time for Mac OS only, and not for Windows or like Androids. It only supports the Apple ecosystem. Yeah. The next one is Marvel. This is a very interesting app. Marvel lets you create both low fidelity and hi-fi wireframes. Also, Marvel also lets you create interactive prototypes and do user testing. Marvel is basically free in the Play Store. You can download it. It is a very small app. You can just create prototypes with pictures, like from just you have, for example, you just, if you want to make a prototype of a product, you just have to make a wireframe on a sheet of paper. You just click picture of those screens, and individually you can use those pictures as screens and then create prototypes with this Marvel app. It is very convenient. You should like use this or get an experience of Marvel app at least once. Also, Marvel has a feature called handoff where it gives developers the HTML and CSS code styles for this to start building apps. It is very handy because if any app gives you the code from a design, it is very much helpful for the developers in the future stages. And also Wireframe CC. It is a website, and it is a low fidelity wire. It can You can create low fidelity wireframes in just a snap of a finger. Wireframe CC keeps their wireframing tools focused on minimalism. It doesn't have a lot of tools like Adobe. If you have seen Adobe Photoshop, it has ample of tools. It is very deep to learn Adobe Photoshop. But here, Wireframe CC doesn't have that much of complexity. It is very simple. It is just focused on how to create a wireframe from basic shapes, sizes, buttons, colors. That's it. And it also has a in-browser demo. Like you can just go to the website wireframe.cc and you can use the product in the browser itself, like Figma. And also it follows a simple color palette and rectangular elements. As I said, different elements, not only rectangular elements, there are oval elements and star shape, polygons, etc. So it makes it a simple interface, not very complicated. And now we'll go to the main part of the webinar, which is career options in UI UX. So basically, UI UX designers are always in demand in the industry. It is, as long as we are making up apps and websites, there will be always a demand for UI UX designers in the industry. No doubt in that. You don't need a degree in designing for landing a job in UI UX. So yeah, basically the first myth is that you need a designing degree to get a job in UI UX. It is not like that. It is fully based on your skills, creativity, and how you solve a problem of user interface or user experience. And also, it is not about doing multiple courses like certifications. You don't need any extra certification or designing degree to get the job. It is just skills, pure skills. That's it. And also for beginners like in college, the students which are in college in the final year or in the third year, they can search internships through Internshala, and also GUVI is giving internships to the final year students, as I saw in the PPT. So yeah, it is a good option. You will learn a lot from ex- those internship, because designing is not only about you just think of yeah, I need a job in UI UX, and then the day after you'll get a job. No, it is not like that. You need much more experience in UI UX than any other field. You need to learn and just follow the designing standards. You have to create and create and create, make mistakes, solve them, correct those mistakes, and then only you will be good in UI UX. That is the main process. Actually, even when I started designing, I was in my third year in college. I'm not from a designing background. I'm also in BTech in computer science. So yeah, it doesn't matter. So the first design which I made was terrible compared to the designs that I am making today. I'll show you the examples. What was the design that was the first design that I made to the recent designs that I have been making as a freelance UI UX designer. So yeah, career options in UI UX is not only UI UX designer. There are many career options. For example, UI UX designer is the first. The second one is freelancing. If you are good at something, you just have to, you don't do it for free, right? Actually, this is the point. So freelancing is basically you take up projects or work up for some other companies, but you are not a direct employee of that company. You are just doing part-time job for that company. So that's called freelancing. You get a pay. Yeah, sometimes you get a very good pay, and sometimes they also offer you a position for a permanent employee. So it is good. Freelancing is good. You can just brush up your skills and show up your skills in freelancing. Also, there's a position known as UX researcher. UX researcher is nothing but it research the user about how the the experience is going on with the product. Like for example, take Uber for example. The UX researchers are always taking up feedbacks from their users, that how was their ride. For example, take Zomato and Swiggy also. They always take your feedback after each and every order. So what are they trying to do with those feedbacks? They are trying to just make the app better with those feedbacks. So that is the role of the UX researcher, to take feedbacks and then modify or change the product according to the user, that it is convenient and simple to use, and also enjoyable at the same time. The fourth one is the information architect. Information architect, as I said, information architecture was the earlier keyword, which is the organization of data in your product or website. So yeah, you can be information architect if you are good at designing how the data flows in a product. You can be that also. It is a very good role. Also, the fifth one is UX strategist. The strategist is the first phase of any product. The strategists are like why we need. the reason behind the product, which is which is going to be made. Also, why are we going to make the product, for whom are we going to make the product, and why are they going to use our product. These questions or scenarios are taken up by UX strategists. They make a strategy for the business that they are aiming to accomplish with the product. So yeah, these are basically the main five. There are many more, but these are the basically the five major roles that are in career options for UI UX.